The National Construction Code responds to the Shergold Weir Report. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, I'm Florian Heise and welcome to this episode of Heise Says. Now, I thought we'd have a look at this article, or this announcement from the National Construction Code. And don't worry, I'm on my second coffee for the day. I just received an email and I thought I'd share this with you all. The National Construction Code is being amended outside of its cycle in response to the Shergold Weir Report. Now, I've read through the entire Shergold Weir Report, and I will bring up the title, the link to the playlist for the report there if you'd like to have a look. And you know, it has a lot of very sensible recommendations. So it's good to see that the NCC is responding to this. Now, this should be, you know, what is it? It's opened on the 23rd of September, so it's open today, or it depends if I show this video today or tomorrow, and it closes on the 11th October. So there's opportunity for people to make submissions to this. So let's have a look. Overview. The Australian Building Codes Board has been directed by the Building Ministers Forum to undertake an out-of-cycle amendment for the 2019 editions of the National Construction Code. The amendment is intended to introduce enhanced fire safety measures for early childhood centres in high-rise buildings and address recommendations identified in the Shergold Weir Building Confidence Report. It will be known as NCC 2019 Amendment 1. Now I'm going to put a timestamp in here, 140 we'll say. I will link above my head to a video I did about fire safety issues in buildings and how they are risking lives. I'm hearing from people in Western Australia, seeing articles in the Gold Coast and from Newcastle where fire separation of sole occupancy units, apartments and other issues is being compromised due to corner cutting. So that's the thing we have. This is not addressing that issue, but it shows you when we even have the legislation in place, there's still problems. So, you know, childcare centres in high-rise buildings, because I've seen a few of those and we've looked at them for clients. They're becoming more and more popular. The amendments will include proposed new requirements to improve the safety of occupants of early childhood centres not located on the ground levels of buildings. A proposed newly defined term for building complexity that will identify buildings for which increased supervision of design and construction is appropriate through subsequent initiatives being investigated in response to the recommendations of the Building Confidence Report. This is interesting. Increased supervision of design and construction. So provisions that require the creation of a performance-based design brief wherever a performance solution is developed to improve the quality and clarity of such solutions for approval and auditing purposes. This is also in response to parts of the Building Confidence Report recommendation. Okay, this is a performance solution. Now, if you're not familiar, in the construction code, our code is actually pretty good. It allows for adaptation and innovation. Now, that means you can just take the code and it'll have a it'll have a performance requirement that, you know, say this type of requirement is necessary for this acoustic separation between two spaces. Now, you can achieve that anyway. You can hire your own engineer to design a custom system, put a report and submit it, and that will be meeting the performance requirements for the National Construction Code. Okay, and that ticks a box. You could go get a system from a walling manufacturer and install this system, and they've got a certificate that they've tested, and that would be meeting the requirements. It would be deemed to satisfy, or it would meet the requirements of the deemed to satisfy provisions. So what they have is they've also got under the code, they've got the performance ones where you can pretty much invent something. Then they've got deemed to satisfy over here, which is system instruction that you can follow in the building code that you can do, like the size of a footing for a residential house on a standard type of soil. It really simplifies the process. So there's two approaches to it. There's an innovative solution and there's a prescriptive solution. So here they want to have performance-based design brief wherever a performance solution is developed. Okay, so that's very interesting. Amendments that clarify existing concessions for low-rise class 2 and 3 buildings. Reference to the new technical specification for the permanent labeling of aluminium composite panels. So they're responding to the fire flammable cladding issues that we've had. So notice this is a response that's coming out of issues that have happened, and this isn't going to save any of those buildings. This isn't going to address any of those buildings that have happened, but it's a response to that. So, okay, so links to the public comment drafts, NCC 2019 Amendment 1, are provided below. So you can have a look at these, and you can leave a comment. So you can provide a comment and put your input in. So let's have a look. We will go through first the revised definition of building complexity. The NCC 2019 Amendment 1 public comment draft contains a new definition, a new defined term for building complexity. This definition establishes a range of complexity levels from 0 to 1, with 0 being the least complex and 4 being the most complex. A building's complexity level considers the potential number of occupants in the building, the vulnerability of those occupants, and the complication presented by technical, geometrical, or environmental factors. Here's the thing with regards to this. The occupants of buildings, that's a big part of designing. As an architect, engineer, anyone, when you're designing a building, you need to take account of the number of people that are in there. One problem with Airbnb is that it changes the occupation numbers and the knowledge that the people will have of that building from one class to another class. It goes from an apartment building to a hotel. So people have a different understanding. There's different requirements for safety that are often ignored. This new defined term is included in response to recommendations of the Shergold Weir Report, Building Confidence Report. The NCC 2019 Amendment 1 public comment draft does not include corresponding technical requirements relating to building complexity. The definition can be used as a potential trigger for a broader suite of changes yet to be developed in response to the Building Confidence Report. Okay, let's have a look at Volume 1, the changes, the amendments they're going to give to Volume 1. So guys, this is the... Okay, hang on. Do I have... Where is it? I mean, here we go. I've got the 2016 version. I don't buy the physical copies now since the PDFs are free. You know, care for the environment and all that jazz, and I'm a cheap person. So, you know, Volume 1 is for Class 2 to 9 buildings, everything other than domestic detached houses, pretty much. So, you know, big fat book that'll put you to sleep. And here we go. You know, the first change is in Part C2, compartmentation and separation. Compartmentation and separation. Why do I even try to read? Seriously. I blame it because I learned German first as a child. That's what I blame it on. So they've removed, it's just Class 9 buildings. So A. So B, they're adding this. A Class 9B early childhood centre must comply with the following. A Class 9B early childhood centre must be divided into at least 2 fire compartments. Each fire compartment required by I must have at least 2 horizontal exits, no less than 9 meters apart. The requirements of B do not apply to a Class 9B early childhood centre that is wholly within a story that provides direct egress to a road or open space. So here you go. They want, if one of these buildings or one of these spaces catches on fire, it gets, you know, there's 2 compartments. So one place is completely separated from the other, and there's 2 options to egress out of each. So that's going to have provide significant increased evacuation options for the children in those spaces. But it's going to be more of a challenge retrofitting these to existing buildings. It's not insurmountable. It's just something you need to be aware of. And they've deleted this clause here. Okay. Specification C 1.11 fire resistant construction, Class 2 and 3 building concession. Okay. Notwithstanding C 1.9a and B, C 2.6 and Clause 3 of Specification C 1.1, an element of a Class 2 or 3 building having a rise in stories of not more than 3 may be constructed using timber framing in conjunction with non-combustible materials or non-combustible materials throughout, and they're getting rid of that, provided the building is fitted with an automatic smoke detection and alarm system complying with Specification E 2.2a. So they're wanting to have, see, you can see here what they're removing. Class 2 and 3 building concession, notwithstanding C 1.9a and B, C 2.6 and Clause 4.1e of Specification C.1, an element of a Class 2 or 3 building having a rise in stories of not more than 3 may be constructed using timber frame, non-combustible material throughout, provided it's fitted with an automatic sprinkler detection alarm system compliant with this specification. Okay, cool. So access and egress. Okay, what are they? They're not really making any changes here, are they? Provision for escape, number of exits. Exits from a class 9C building, 9B, early childhood centres, and patient care areas in class 9A healthcare building. In a 9A healthcare building, 9B early childhood centre, and a 9C building, at least one exit must be provided for every part of the story which has been divided into 5 compartments in accordance with C2.2 or C2.5. So they've added 9B. They're putting more onerous requirements on the early childhood centres. And they changed that from lowercase to an uppercase. Horizontal exits for the purpose of part D1. Here we go. So they're just adding the early childhood centres to these existing requirements for the 9A healthcare buildings and the 9C. Firefighting equipment, here we go. 9B early childhood centres throughout the whole building, including any part of another class, unless the early childhood centre is wholly within the story, provide direct egress to a road or open space. So it looks like they're increasing the egress requirements for these buildings. So it's really nothing to do with the apartment issues that we've had. Guys, this is just with early childhood centre buildings. So what else has happened in the media? Has anyone heard any issues? Have any childhood centres been evacuated? Application of automatic fire sprinkler standards. So for class 5, 6, 7, 9A, and now they're adding 9B, other than a 9B early childhood centre, which is not wholly within a story that provides direct access to road or open space. Parts of a building with an effective height no more than this. Okay, sprinkler system in accordance with this specification. Early childhood centres. An automatic fire sprinkler system in a class 9B early childhood centre, which is not wholly within the story that provides direct egress to a road or open space, must use fast response sprinklers and must not use concealed flush type sprinklers. See, this is the type of stuff, this is the type of details that can get onto the drawings and then needs to get checked. And how does the certifier will probably go through, do an inspection, notice particular ones, they may miss something. There's no clerk of works on site checking all of these things as well to provide them with support. Smoke hazard management. Other assembly buildings not listed above and excluding schools. Okay, they've removed the excluding schools requirement. They've added schools to this. A building containing 9B early childhood, which is not wholly within a story. Okay. What do we have here? Visibility in an emergency. So they're adding some changes here with signage. An accessible unisex sanitary compartment must contain a closet pan, wash basin, shelf or bench top, and adequate means of disposal of sanitary products. I'm surprised that has changed. Okay. Well, the thing is, all people with disability toilets are unisex anyway, so I'm not even surprised with that. So modeling profiles, energy efficiency, okay. Cool. Building fabric stuff, air conditioning, ventilation, really exciting things for the engineers to look at, some reference documents changes. So this is the changes to volume 1. Most of it is to do with early childhood egress out of high-rise buildings, which is going to become more and more common. So all those ones that I've seen out recently, I wonder if they're going to comply with these changes. So I have to take account of that in future. So this is volume 2. So you've got volume 1, the bigger buildings, volume 2, the little buildings, detached houses. So what are the changes here? Nothing in drainage, articulated full masonry and articulated masonry veneer. Okay. Changing that from, okay, they changed the spelling, I guess. Changing this formula slightly for overflow volume calculation measures. Okay, they've ridge to gutter. Okay, they've increased that liters per second per meter. Cool. What are they adding here? Okay, so here we go. Walls with a FRL of 60, 60, 60. So this wall here, I'm assuming they've added less than 900 millimeters within the building. Okay, that's from a class 10. So this is a garage to your house. That wall needs to have 60, 60, 60. And that's not too hard to achieve, that rating. Some more fire rating. Yes, well, of course you want that there. I'm surprised they didn't need that. Condensation management. Condensation in Buildings Tasmania Design Guide Volume version 2. Okay, this is for the Tasmanians. Actually, yep, Luke, if you're watching, you want to build your own homes, you need to read this, mate. It's change. Chimneys, I think I've drawn one chimney once in my entire career. And so that's it. So most of the changes for comment, oh, hang on, and there is the governing requirements for common schedules. So Amendment 1, public comment documents. Let's have a look. So where a performance requirement is proposed to be satisfied by a performance solution, the following steps must be undertaken. Prepare a PBDB in consultation with relevant stakeholders. Carry out analysis including modeling and or testing as proposed by the PBDB. Collate and evaluate results from B against the accepted criteria. Prepare a final report that includes a performance requirement deemed to satisfy provisions identified through this. Identification of all assessment methods used, and details of steps A to C, and confirmation that the performance requirements has been met. Okay, this I think is actually a really good idea, because what can happen is a mistake can happen, or people can cut corners and do a dodgy performance solution, just get a letter written to get around it, or the certifier can just tick and flick. Oh yeah, I'm out of trouble, no problem. So this is requiring a more onerous process, which should be happening anyway. If you're doing a performance-based solution to get around, or as an innovative approach for the National Construction Code, you should do this. Every professional should have this level of detail. It's just writing a brief. You need it for your own records, for your own due diligence. So I see that as actually quite a good thing. Labeling of aluminium composite panels. And aluminium composite panels must be labeled in accordance with SATS 5344. Fantastic. Here we go. Here's the building complexity section. Okay. Building complexity means through geometric, technical, or scale parameters that increase the risk of oversight or error in a situation where the consequences of oversight or error will be significant. Table 2 defines the building complexity levels from level 0 to 4. So why is this in volume 1? Volume 2 should, oh wait, no, sorry, this is in volume 2, it's in its own separate document. Complexity 0. Non-complicated building designed to accommodate a low number of occupants, 100 or less. 1. Non-complicated building designed to accommodate a large number of occupants, more than 100. Non-complicated building designed to accommodate vulnerable occupants, more than 10. 1. Complicated building designed to accommodate a low number of occupants. 2 is non-complicated, designed to... Okay, you can read the rest of this. 4. Building essential to post-disaster recovery or associated with hazardous facilities. So, I wonder if this is going to have, like, should you be able to do design and construct for some of these methodology? Or if you have design and construct, you need a third party as a clerk of works. The key components that determine the level of safety and health risk in buildings are potential consequence in terms of number of occupants exposed, the vulnerability of those occupants. The key component that determines the risk of error in design and construction is the complication of the building design, construction, and material used. The above components are not equal. The number of occupants exposed has the greatest contribution to life risk, followed by the vulnerability of the occupants. The complication of the building multiplies the potential effect of both numbers and vulnerability. Levels of building complexity are no elevated components, and 4 is post-disaster, 3 is elevated, 2 is elevated. Okay, what's the difference? Anyway. Oh, 3, how many elevated components there are? Okay, so here we go. We start. Buildings that are essentially post-disaster recovery. That's 4. So consequences, number less than 100. So here's the typical examples. Complexity level 0, class 1, a single dwelling. So normal house. Complexity 1 is a small hospice. 1B is a class 1B dwelling. We go down here. Complexity 2 is a shopping center or a concert hall. 3 is a hospital without 24-hour accident. And then 4 is a chemical processing plant or a hospital or a fire or police station. Complicated buildings means a building having one or more of the following attributes. For volumes 1 and 2, construction using innovative materials or systems, or materials not complying with the BCA deemed to satisfy provisions. Ah, okay. Cool. We can see why they're responding to that. So what's this table 5 wind classes? What? Climate zones? Oh, they're adding it in there. Okay, cool. Total number of persons. So here we go. There's a bit more on vulnerable occupants. Okay, vulnerable occupants means occupants who require assistance in evacuating the building during an emergency, including the following: children in an early childhood center, residents in an aged care building or residential aged care building, people with disability in a residential care building, patients in a healthcare building. I mean, that all seems very reasonable. And this is the ACP requirement. So there you go, guys. So you have an opportunity to make a comment. I will link to this website on the references. But what do you think? It all seems quite reasonable. I think it's going to... It feels like this is just the first step in responding to some of these issues that have been addressed in the Shergold Weir Report. I'm hoping particularly these building complexity issues will inform methodology or procurement methods that are allowed to procure these buildings. I'm hoping that a class 3 or a class 4 building or even a class 2 building will have certain requirements on it with regards to the construction to ensure the traditional police in the industry can capture things. And these corner cutting disasters that we're seeing happening again and again don't happen. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.